Okay, welcome everybody. I don't know if I'm going to need this mic that closely. I'm Donna Harris. I'm the current president of Humanist, Atheists, and Agnostics of Manitoba, and I welcome you heartily this evening for our featured screening of A Better Life. But of course, the plan this evening is just a short presentation that I've got for you, about 15 minutes. We'll take a little break, 5-10, then we'll watch the film. The film is only about an hour and a half long. But my first question is if there's anybody who here are members of HAAM or have been to lots of our meetings and stuff. Okay. So we have a fair number of new people then. Welcome, that's wonderful. That's exactly why we're hosting this evening, is to hopefully get some more people out and kind of let them know what we're all about. Now, in case there are questions after, maybe we'll do a Q&A after the film. Depends on what people are interested in. There's also a book to be won at the back there if you haven't entered your name in the draw. You can do that during the break and we'll draw for that book at the end of the film. Housekeeping as well. If you don't know where the washrooms are, turn left out of the doorway, almost back into the library proper, but not quite. Then turn right and right. You'll see there's the universal symbols up on the wall. And before I begin, I'm just wondering if our executive members can identify themselves. So if anybody has any questions, that you can find these people. Yay! 1, 2, 3, 4, they're all in the center there. Okay. They're not hiding under okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I'm glad there are a few of you here who have, because you're probably interested in finding out more about humanism, I hope. So what I'm probably going to start off with now is just some definitions. First of all, atheist. What is atheism? Well, all atheism means is without theism, or someone who does not believe that there's a deity. We're all born atheists. And we're actually atheists regarding most of the gods that we've ever been. Most of us don't consider Anubis, Athena, Thor, or Ishtar, or so many others to be deities anymore. Every human culture has had their gods and creation stories in the thousands. A few have survived, most others haven't. Remember, if we were in Saudi Arabia right now, we would be worshipping Allah. And if we were in India, we might consider Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva to be the Holy Trinity. It's actually not always easy being an atheist. For a long time, atheists were the most hated group in the US. It's only been recently that they've slipped from first place. Right now, the Muslims are #1. There are 13 countries across the world where atheism is a crime, punishable by death. So please keep in mind, for some of us, we're not able to publicly identify as a non-believer. There can be all kinds of risks and consequences, some minor, some quite severe. Even so, the ranks of people who are questioning and leaving the faith they were born into, it's growing all the time. But atheism really only means what someone doesn't believe. There are certainly people who don't believe and don't care about anything or anyone. Just like there are some so-called religious people who believe themselves to be righteous but really don't live by the tenets of their faith. So whether we identify as a free thinker, an agnostic, or a non-believer, most of us have come to the understanding that what we do believe in is ourselves and our fellow human beings. This is where humanism comes in. It shouldn't surprise me that there are many people who've never heard of humanism. But lots of people haven't. So that's partly why we're here. And as we go over the humanist philosophy, you just might find yourself nodding in agreement. Humanist thought itself has been around for millennia in various forms. Modern humanism can be defined as a philosophical and ethical stance that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings, individually and collectively, and generally prefers critical thinking, evidence, and rational thought over acceptance of dogma or superstition. So, first of all, humanists don't believe in any supernatural deities or demons. No gods, no devils, no ghosts, whatever. We're also generally pretty skeptical when it comes to New Age beliefs, another form of what some people call woo. That includes everything from astrology to psychics to, yes, sadly, zombies. Although,
But they're so much fun.
I know. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
We also reject the idea of an afterlife. We agree that we aren't separate from life on Earth. We are part of it. We are an animal just like any other. We know that every living thing on this planet eventually dies. There's no reason why we would be any different. Albeit we're primates with brains that have allowed us to dominate this planet in a way never seen before. And we are still here today because of adaptation, evolution, and considering how close our species has come to being, in the past, to being wiped out entirely, with some darn good luck. Human beings have retained our mammalian curiosity. We appear to have a need for explanations for everything and to ascribe agency to events. Just look at any 4-year-old out there who can't stop asking why. Why? Why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why do I have to go to bed? But really, we don't have all the answers, and we have to be okay with that. We will never know everything. There will always be questions left to answer. But in the meantime, we believe that science is the best way to understand the world. Science is a self-correcting process. You start with a hypothesis and determine the best way to test that. If the results don't agree, the hypothesis gets thrown out. If it matches, it then needs to be reproduced by other scientists who will hopefully obtain the same results. Theories are decided on when the amount of evidence is overwhelming. It's so overwhelming there's no longer any doubt. However, nothing is ever fixed in science. If new evidence is uncovered, beliefs and conclusions are reevaluated. And there are guidelines for what is called proof or evidence. Personal anecdotes aren't evidence, even in large quantities, no matter how sincere or deeply felt. Our memories can be notoriously faulty. There's a very good reason why a guilty verdict has to be beyond a reasonable doubt. Whether or not anyone appreciates or believes in all the investigative tools available, does anybody really believe that someone should be convicted based on the testimony of one individual, one witness? Well, it may seem to some that we've just replaced religious beliefs with the worship of science. I can't tell you how many times we've heard, atheism is just another religion, or humanism is another religion. Not quite. We don't believe Richard Dawkins is our patron saint, and Charles Darwin, Albert Einstein, and Stephen Hawking are not the Holy Trinity.
How dare you?
We remain skeptical of scientists, of science, and any assertions without enough evidence. Science is human activity, and it isn't perfect. It can be fallible because we're fallible, but it's the best tool we have. And we just have to look at our modern life to appreciate what we have and the huge changes that science and technology have made for us. But science must be tempered by human ethics and morality. Just because we can do a thing does not mean we should do a thing. There are many examples where science and us have gone wrong. Another question that comes up frequently is, what, you don't believe in God? So where do you get your morality? What stops you from doing whatever you want? Well, because we don't want to go out and pillage and assault people and start riots and rob stores. As social animals, we've evolved with some core moral values wired into our brain, such as compassion and empathy. Most of us care about others. We make our ethical decisions based on reason, empathy, and a concern for human beings and other sentient animals. We want to help others because not only does it feel good, it's the right thing to do, not because we're afraid of some future punishment. What excites us as humanists is to learn that there are good reasons why we've evolved this way. We've always lived in groups, and the key to doing that is getting along with others. Having empathy and a concern for others is a necessary thing. The relatively recent discovery of mirror neurons has in part confirmed that assertion. Mirror neurons are a type of brain cell that respond equally when we perform an action and when we witness somebody else perform the same action. They were first discovered in the early 1990s when a team of Italian researchers found individual neurons in the brain of macaque monkeys that fired both when the monkeys grabbed an object and also when the monkeys watched another primate grab the same object. These neurons go a long way to explain our ability to empathize with others. Whenever we see somebody else stub their toe, we can quite literally feel exactly what they're feeling. We don't believe in pure evil, nor do we consider anybody to be a saint or beyond criticism. We're human and fallible. Each of us is capable of the most noble and selfless behavior, along with the worst, most vile actions. We live in a world that's made up of shades of gray. We consider some things moral, others not. And what we consider moral has changed over time as our knowledge has increased and our values have changed. There is no one objective list of good and bad. And all of us collectively have decided what is right and what is wrong in our society. Today, we generally agree on things like slavery and human trafficking, they're wrong, that women are individuals and not possessions, children have their own rights. There's no such thing as race except the human race. Every human being has their own inherent worth. We're also growing to understand that other animals are smarter than we thought, and they also have emotions and feelings, and are more like us than we ever realized. Many religions demand adherence to all of the tenets of the faith. While some are more orthodox than others, all of them have a certain dogma that must be believed and adhered to. Many people follow the religion of their parents with no deviation. They are indoctrinated as a child and don't question why their particular religion is the only true faith. Among those beliefs is the idea of the holy or sacred. There are holy texts, artifacts, buildings, places, even times. In contrast, nothing is sacred in humanism. What that means is there are no taboos or off-limit ideas. We can and do question everything. All ideas are open to discussion and debate. Humanism is really not dogmatic. There's no one set of beliefs that one has to ascribe to join the humanist club. Generally, we agree to disagree on some pretty important beliefs. In contrast, notice how certain religions actively restrict what their adherents can access, question, or read. Most humanists consider the active indoctrination of children to be a form of child abuse. I have personally heard a pastor telling a group of young children that Jesus is watching them all the time. We also don't consider belief that is in any way coerced or demanded to be valid. The best parts of religion, in my opinion, involve a sense of community, the many ways believers help each other. But at times, even that help and concern only apply to other members of the same faith, not outsiders or strangers. We humanists are on the sidelines and view the ways, both large and small, that religion can be damaging. And at times, we despair. It could be only the comfortable fiction of an afterlife that helps ease the pain of loss or fear of our own future death. But beliefs can also separate families and friends, such as certain faiths that require parents or friends to shun a non-believer, or a gay child, for example. Public policy can be at risk with roughly 1/4 of all Canadians believing that the world is less than 10,000 years old. Or it could be as damaging as the poisonous belief that we're all morally and ethically corrupted, having been born in sin. The idea that we're all born sinners is one all humanists reject completely. In this system, God never fails. We do. He works in mysterious ways, which we can never understand. If our prayers aren't answered, it's our own fault. We didn't pray hard enough, or we didn't deserve it. Depending on the faith, religion also requires a huge amount of effort and cognitive dissonance to reconcile beliefs to the natural world. In short, humanists are free from religious restrictions. We're free to explore, to learn for ourselves, to take chances and question everything. We don't have to worry about conforming to artificially imposed standards. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're looking at the bottom of the pyramid there. Our own human natures aren't something to be ashamed of. Check out this Maslow's hierarchy of needs. To survive, we need air, food, drink, shelter, warmth, sex, sleep, etc. Well, some of us might swap sleep and sex. Notice that sex did make the cut on this version. One other version actually says, the need for sex is unnecessary for individual survival, but is necessary for the survival of humankind. Yeah. I think that we want sex in our lives. But we have lived in a puritanical society that obsesses over sex at the same time that it demonizes our own natural desires for so long that we have trouble even talking about it. We can't feel comfortable in our own bodies, never mind our own naked bodies. Believe me, I had a hard time figuring out how I was going to mention this, so I'm glad I found the Maslow's chart, because, yeah, I said the S word. But we need to start having frank discussions about human sexuality, if only because over 7 billion people in this world, we need effective family planning and birth control. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. While sex and intimacy certainly help make life meaningful, we also have the capability to experience meaning in our lives in so many other ways. We are able to revel in all the experiences that please all of our senses. We can feel a whole range of emotions, from anger and jealousy to happiness and joy, and most especially love, in all its forms. We can gaze and wonder at the world around us and be thankful that we're here to experience it. This planet is truly amazing. The universe is amazing. And the more we learn about how the universe came to be, the more incredible it all is. Life is far sweeter and more precious when we realize how brief it is, how unique and how fragile. But when we look around us, we also know that our world is facing enormous challenges. There's much work to be done to ensure that this entire world survives. This isn't the time for us to be divided and fighting amongst ourselves. It's important that we come together and realize that we're all human beings first and foremost. And while many great advances have happened in the last few decades about human rights, we also have human responsibilities. Humanists generally accept responsibility for our own lives. There are no God-given rules to guide our actions and decide what we believe. Human beings, though, have a responsibility to the whole world. We're different from any other living beings. We have unique abilities of understanding, reasoning, and sensitivity. For this reason, we must face the fact that the future of humankind and the natural world is in the hands of all of us, men and women, not fate or gods. Thank you.